Today's webinar, Email 102. A few things before we get into that. Our next webinar is next Thursday, November 8th at 2 o'clock. That's a week from, oh no, that's today, isn't it? November 8th, how about that? So that is wrong. I will get back to you on that one, the next one, but it is email 201. That part is correct. All right, our next seminar is this Saturday, November 10th at 10 a.m. If you're here on the Treasure Coast. The title is Chris Columbus is Home Alone. Hopefully you guys get figured out what that's about. And our blog, I want to talk about that, especially, did you read the blog today? Very important, something that happened with my Windows today that might happen with yours in the next day or two. It's a Microsoft issue. You should read the blog today to see what that's all about. It has to do with Windows activation. But there are other things, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, gift cards equals scam. That's important. So I hope you're going every day to visit the blog. All right, email 102. The first thing I want to sort of present to you is that we're going to go probably a little slow today because this being 102, if you remember college courses, you know, when you went through some course 101, that was usually pretty easy. And then when you got to 102, it got a little tougher. And today's subject matter about email is a little tougher to understand. So I'm actually going to go kind of slowly, and I'll try to explain in detail everything that I want you to get out of today's webinar. But just in case. Now, the first thing I actually want to do is I want to put out a poll question, and I'd ask you to answer this question. And the question is, regarding last week's webinar, Email 101, did you either attend the webinar or watch the video later? That would be yes or no. It's not an either or. I'm not asking you, did you attend, did you watch it later? I'm asking you, did you at least, if you didn't attend, did you go and watch the video? That's very important. All right, if you did not do that, then I'm going to tell you right now that you need to go back and watch Email 101. It's an important video. And as it looks right now, it looks like about half of you did not see that video. We're going to do 4 videos on email. The next one next week is Email 201. Then 202, and they sort of build on each other. So if you miss one, you need to go back and look at the other one. And so right now it looks like just about everyone has answered. I'm missing one person so far that did not answer. But at this point, I'm going to end the polling. And we know that about 50% of you did not go and look at the first webinar on Email 101. So please do that. You just go to 4kcc.com/webinars and scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see the Email 101. Click on that and you can watch the video. Again, it's about 30 minutes long. All right, so we're going to pick up where we left off on that one, by the way. And the question is, how do you get your email? And basically, there are 2 ways to get email. You can, 1, use Webmail, or 2, you can use an email client. Those are really the only 2 ways for you to get your email. And we're going to take a very solid look at those things today so that hopefully you'll understand the difference, what an advantage or disadvantage of using one method or the other. And we'll just go from there. So hang on to your seats. We're going to take a look here. How do you get your email? All right, let's talk about first about Webmail, because basically that's the easiest one of the 2. Webmail is where you open a browser and go to an email website. And some examples of that would be yahoo.com, gmail.com, outlook.com, myxfinity.com, AT&T.net, AOL.com. There are a lot of them. If you have Roadrunner, you know, they have their own website. There are different websites, but what you do is you go to the website to get your email. You log in with your username and password, and that's how you get your email. Now, here's what happens. If someone sends an email to you, it leaves their computer, which you can see, I've given you a picture there at the bottom of the screen. And when it leaves theirs, it goes across the internet, and eventually it winds up to the email server of the person who is emailing you. So for instance, if you have a Gmail account and someone emails you, it winds up on the Gmail server, okay, so that you can get the email that they've sent. Now, this is what happens. In Webmail, it's very simple. When you are going to the web to log in, you are actually logging into that same server. So if someone sent you an email and it went to the email server, when you log into, say, Gmail or AOL.com or Yahoo.com, whoever it is, you are actually logging into the server. So you're going to be able to see the mail that was sent to you at that address because that mail is sitting on the server that you just logged into. Now, that's the simplest, and we'll get back and talk a little bit more about webmail. The other way to get your mail is to use an email client. Now, an email client is software which resides on your computer, and email is downloaded into that email client software. So some examples of email clients: Microsoft Office Outlook, Mozilla Thunderbird, Windows Live Mail, Mac Mail, Windows 10 Mail. That's the app that's built into Windows 10. Mac Mail is built into the Mac operating system. I don't have it listed here, but on your phones, okay, or on your tablets, if you have an email app, which they're basically built in, that app is an email client, exactly the same as Outlook or Thunderbird or Live Mail, etc. So those are email clients. Now, with an email client, here's the thing that makes them a little more complicated. Email client applications can be set up as either POP or IMAP. And here's what happens. If you're using a POP account, now POP stands for Post Office Protocol. If you're using a POP account, here's what happens. Let's look at the graphics again. Someone sends you an email, it goes to the email server, and then when your computer logs into that server, it downloads the email to your computer. Now, by default, email is deleted off the server once it downloads onto your computer. Now, that's different than webmail. Webmail, your email stays on the server until you delete it. Okay, but in this case, when you use an email client using POP, the email gets downloaded onto your computer, and by default, the email is deleted from the server. Now, here's what can happen. We're going to take a look at this next one. Here's where confusion happens when you have your account set up as POP. Let's say that you have two computers and they both have the same email on an email client, and they're both set up as POP. So here's what happens. Someone sends you an email. It goes to the server. The first computer that calls for email will download it and delete it from the server. Now your second computer, it won't download that email because it's no longer there. That's what happens with POP. Now here's what I want you to think about. Notice that I told you POP stands for Post Office Protocol. Okay, think about the mail that comes to you at your mailbox. Okay, so what happens is the mailman comes along and he has your mail and he places your mail in the mailbox. The mail is no longer on his truck or in his pouch or her pouch, is it? It's in your mailbox. If someone comes along and steals your mail before you get to it, it's gone. Someone else got the mail. This is very similar. When the mail is downloaded onto one of your computers, it's deleted from the server. That's the equivalent of the mailman putting it in your mailbox, real mail, physical mail, and it's now gone from their truck or from their pouch or whatever they had it in. It's now in your mailbox. Now, if someone comes along and steals it, that's the equivalent of what you see here. If one computer downloads the mail before the other computer can, there's no mail for the second computer to download. Now, it is true, I said by default, email is deleted off the server once it's downloaded. You can set pop email to leave the email on the server for so many days. And then if you log in with another computer, it will get the email that's there. But here's the problem with that. Pop email only works one way, one direction, and that's from the server down. What that means is if you got the same email on two different computers using pop, if you deleted the email on one of the computers, it would not be deleted from the other one. So you would have to delete the email from both computers, or 3 computers, or 4 computers, or however many computers you had set up using pop. So in the old days, almost all accounts were set up as pop. But then what happened was people began to have more than one computer. Then they got tablets. Then they got smartphones. Then they got smart watches. And pretty soon, pop just wasn't going to do it because nobody wants to go to all those devices and delete an email or move it to a different folder. Nobody wants to do that. So instead, we came up with something called IMAP, which is Internet Message Access Protocol. And here's what happens. When you use IMAP, those messages stay on the server, just like they did for Webmail. But they also download on all of your computers or all of your computing devices, whether that's an iPhone or an Android phone or a smart tablet, whatever. It downloads on all of them. But then what it does something called syncing. So here's an example in graphic of something set up as IMAP. Somebody sends an email, it goes to the server. It then also downloads to all of your computing devices, but it's still on the server. Now, the email stays on the server and then it's synced across all the devices. If you delete an email from one of your computing devices, the next time it syncs with the server, it deletes it from the server and all of your computing devices, assuming they're turned on. But they will delete the next time it syncs, even if it isn't turned on. So this became much more handy when people used iPhones or Android phones or tablets or Windows phones, and they want to be able to delete email or move it to folders on the run, but they don't want to have to go back and do it for every computing device. So that's where IMAP came about. Okay, now some things to look at and compare with POP and IMAP. First of all, under the POP column here, you see that the amount of space you use for email is limited to the size of your computing device's hard drive. So if you have an email client and you use POP, like I have a 1 terabyte hard drive, I can put as much mail on there as I want until I run out of hard drive space. On the IMAP side, this is a little different because now all the email is staying on the server. So what can happen is you can actually run out of space because, believe it or not, companies like Comcast and AOL and Roadrunner and all those companies, Yahoo, they don't give you unlimited email space. You have a limit. So if you get a lot of email and you use IMAP and you store a lot, then what happens is at some point you may get a message from the email provider that says you are just about out of space. And then you have to go in and make some decisions and cut some email, etc. Now, on phones and tablets, you, a lot of times you don't run out of space on those devices for this reason. They are often set to only allow so many emails on the phone or tablet. And those are usually the most current, the recent, but they are limited. So like for instance, if they'll only allow 250 emails, when you get to 251, it will delete the oldest one off your phone. You won't see it anymore. So consequently, you know, the phone or tablet limits how much space on those devices, but that has nothing to do with the server. So you have to be very careful. I have this happen with people, especially people that run small businesses, even out of their homes. They run out of IMAP server space, and pretty soon they have to make some decisions. They have to either move those emails, delete them, or they have to save them to their computer and get them out of that account and create another account. So that's a disadvantage of the IMAP. You can run out of space. The next thing down with POP, if something happens to your email provider service, you still have your emails stored on your computer. All right, so I'll give you an example. One time in Gmail, I lost 2,000 emails because something happened on Gmail's side and all my emails were lost. I was using Webmail for them and all my emails were lost. I had no recourse. I got in contact with Google and they said, we're sorry that happened, but your account is the only one that was affected. In other words, if an entire server goes down and hundreds of people are affected or thousands of people, they will restore everything to the day before because they have backups. But they will not help me as an individual. My 2,000 emails were gone. Now, if I was using an email client and using POP, all those emails would be on my computer. And so even if Gmail went down or Yahoo, whoever, I would still have the emails. So that's an advantage of POP, is you can keep them on your computer. On the IMAP side, an advantage is you can reach your emails from anyone's computer. Okay, so even though you have an email client on your machine, you can still log into the server from anywhere as long as you know your username and password. All right, so that's another advantage of IMAP. All right, back on the POP side, if your account is on more than one computing device, deleting or moving an email from one device will not affect the email on the other devices, and I already mentioned that. That's a disadvantage of POP. On the IMAP side, when you delete an email from one device, it's deleted from all other devices once they sync. Okay? And then on the last row, an advantage of using an email client, either POP or IMAP, is that you can work with your emails without ads. Now, we're not talking about the ads that come in emails. You're still going to get those. But did you ever log into your email on the web and you see ads, usually over in the right-hand corner? And you can temporarily hide them most of the time, but they will come right back. As soon as you do something in email, they come back. Well, with an email client, you don't get those ads. All right. Now, unfortunately, because of that, some companies will not allow you to use an email client with their email unless you buy a paid version of it. So when that happens, it's because they know you can get your email without seeing their ads. Along those lines, I'll just say that someone asked me one day, Comcast, you used to be able to create a shortcut to go right to your email on Comcast. And now, most of the time, you cannot do that. If you create the shortcut, it goes to Comcast, the Comcast page first, the Xfinity, myxfinity.com first, and then you still have to click mail. And people ask me, why is that? The reason for that is they don't want you to get by their ads. They want you to see their ads because hopefully maybe you'll click on the ad and buy something and they'll get some money. So that's part of it. So again, we looked at the two ways to get email, and the two ways to do that are on the web or through an email client. And I'm going to take and show you here in just a moment. I'm going to show my screen. Okay. And let me get back to this just a minute. And again, most of you, I'm sure, know this, but if I'm going to go to Gmail in the web, just so you can see. I'm going to go to Google. And I'm going to switch over to my Gmail account, my personal one. And you can see that this is loading. This is Gmail on the web. It's on their server. And so what happens here, if I scroll down, just to give you an idea, at the very bottom here, it shows me that I'm using 12% of the space that Gmail gives me. All right, so if I keep using this and allowing it to build up, I'm going to continue to use that space. When I get to 15 gigabytes, actually a little before I get to 15 gigabytes of space, I'm going to start to get warnings from Gmail when I log in that I'm running out of space. Then I have to either go through and log in, delete or whatever. Like right now, I have 2,924 emails in Gmail. This is my personal account where I get all the things about railroading and other things like that. So that's how that works. And that's what can happen. You can run out of space. Now, on the other hand, if I open, this will take a minute because I had it closed, but if I open my Outlook, now this is my email client, Outlook, Office 365, and I'm on an exchange, what they call an exchange service. We won't get into that right now, but we may later in either 201 or 202. But you see now, I'm getting my 4KCC email in Outlook, and there's no limit except the limitation of my hard drive space. I can get as many as I want in there. And that's how that works. So that's an example of an email client. If I go to the email that's built into Windows 10, that's also an email client. So let's just review very quickly because I tried to go slowly on this because some parts of it are a little complicated. There are two ways to get email: webmail or through an email client. If you open a browser and go to get your email that way, that is webmail. If you use an email client like Outlook, etc., there are two ways to set up your account, either a POP or an IMAP. Almost everyone today is set up as IMAP because we have smartwatches and smartphones and tablets, and we want to get our mail different places. Now, one thing I will tell you, which I didn't mention, with IMAP, a lot of times it will take longer for you to get email in different folders and in the inbox because it takes longer to sync. And if you don't have great internet speed, it will take even longer. So again, POP email is only in one direction, from the server down to your machines. But IMAP is in both directions, from the server down and from your device up to the server. That's how something can get deleted or moved to a folder, because it moves up when you sync up to the server. So that's it for today. Again, I tried to go slow enough that you'd understand, and I hope you did. You can watch this video later once it's released. Please, 50% of you did not watch Email 101. Please go to 4kcc.com/webinars and watch that. And you'll learn something from there. I can guarantee it. Thank you very much and have a great day.